So in checking my TEKS for first grade persuasive text, 1.9E would be recognize characteristics of persuasive text with adult assistance and state what the author is trying to persuade the reader to think or do. I also want to make sure to bring in 1.10C, discuss with adult assistance the author's use of print and graphic features to achieve specific purposes. This really helps them understand a little bit more about persuasive text as well as text features. So these will be our two TEKS that we're going to focus on. These were also the two that were stated in the teacher's planning guide for the week. Once we had looked at the TEKS, that we then decided to look at resources in which to teach the lesson on persuasive text. And this was a really easy choice. This teacher at a K-5 campus, along with all the other teachers there, have access to something called Scholastic Storyworks. Scholastic Storyworks is a magazine, but it's also not only a physical magazine, but has an online component as well. So the cool thing about Storyworks, it has a lot of cool on-trend topics, high interest. It's colorful. It's got a lot of inviting graphics and things. So kids are really drawn to a lot of the texts that are in Storyworks. So this was one that the teacher had available to her. And I thought, as far as a nice, easy, kid-friendly layout, it does a great job. The text is not overwhelming, and it is over a topic that I think will draw them in. So in thinking about how I want this lesson to go, I'm going to plan for about a 10 to 15 minute time frame. I'm going to project this text on the teacher's Clever Touch. It'll be enlarged so the whole class will be able to see it. I'll call the students down to the carpet and we will talk about what persuasion is, how we use it in everyday life. And then we'll talk a little bit about persuasive text and how the authors of persuasive text are typically trying to persuade the reader to do or think something. So after we do that, we'll take a look at the title, we'll skim and scan the text, and I will let them know that we have a couple jobs. We're going to read to find out what the text is all about, and we're going to see if it persuades us to think or do something. I think I'll also ask them, because the title is in the form of a question, they're probably going to have their own answer to that question at the beginning. So to get them engaged, I'll ask them that. We'll read the text together. I'm going to allow them to read kind of some of the parts that they can, and I'll help support that as needed. And then we'll talk about what the arguments were made on each side, what they were, and did it persuade us to maybe change our mind about how we feel about the best pizza topping. So, and then I also will ask them, I think, a little bit about the text features, maybe why the title is posed as a question, maybe why the author included some of the other text features. For example, if you look at the picture of the pizza, half is cheese, half is pepperoni. What does that tell us? And why do we think the author included that? That will go into my author's purpose and craft TEKS as well. So again, about a 10 to 15 minute time frame. I think they're going to enjoy this text. I think it's going to be easy, hopefully, for them to understand, and we'll let you know how the lesson goes. Reflection on today's first grade persuasive text lesson. I called the kids to the carpet. I projected the text, what is the best pizza topping, on their Clever Touch. So instantly they were engaged. They saw that it was pizza. When we read the title together, I asked why we thought the author posed it as a question. They gave some great feedback and insight. I said our purpose for reading was to read to find out what the author was trying to persuade us to think or do. They also noticed quickly that there were two sides to an argument with this text. One side talked about how cheese is the best. One side discussed how pepperoni. So we took a little survey before we read on who thought pepperoni was better and then cheese. And I also told them to be on the lookout to see if any of the opinions opinions that were stated in the text helped change their minds about which was better. So as we read, we looked at the different opinions that were stated. After reading, I asked them to go back and tell me in the text what opinions were stated for each pizza topping. A few kids wanted to say their own opinion, and so I had to keep going back to say, that's your opinion, but what was in the text? So that was something that the teacher noticed in our discussion that she's going to want to keep doing, is to make sure that she can take them back to the text evidence and not just what their own opinions are. So at the conclusion, I then resurveyed them. Did anyone change their mind based on the opinions stated in the text? Which it didn't, but I would consider this a successful lesson in persuasive text because they also noticed some great text features and even gave some good reflection on why the author laid the text out in a certain format. So all in all, just another great day in first grade.